started. See that big magnolia tree right there. Put that up a little bit and show you. That's pretty nice, I think. Hopefully you enjoy that. And then, right there is the trail. We're going to head down that one. And so let's go check that out and see what you know. This, if I remember right from being here several years ago, these are the original posts that you drove through to go into the park. So actually back here on the back side, darken them down a little bit here. And of course obviously this will be gated off, so but that was the original one that you drove right through those posts right there. Okay, so here's the first time we run across here on the trail. And you can see it shows city streets there running north and south and east and west of what this area actually looked like back then. And you can see a plate of food there on the right hand side. It says food was generally limited to cornbread and pork with occasional milk and eggs. Coffee was available, but hard spirits was the beverage of choice for many of the delegates. So, and you can see it says that they rented an unfinished carpenter's shop. It stood about 100 feet in front of this marker. Other delegates slept in crowded rooms and taverns and private homes. And on this sign shows the town again, and you can see it's quite a bit bigger than what it is today. And it says that in 1836 has as many as 3 general stores. So it's quite busy at that time. Of course, it was the river traffic that were heading down here too that actually brought all the people in here. So here's another sign here talking about the townspeople. As you can see in 1836, it included Richard Peebles and B.B. Goodrich, both physicians, and Joseph B. Chance, an attorney. They all had offices along Ferry Street. Thomas Gay, one of the town's founders, and his family lived to the west of Ferry Street. The picture of the guy over there on the right-hand side that you see is Noah Byers, a gunsmith in Washington with a partner in the building that became Independence Hall. So, obviously our building that we just did a few minutes ago there. So, quite the active little place at the time. Here, I just want to show you a little bit more of the trail that we're walking down. Come down here a little piece, and if you listen, you hear some traffic. When that gets by, you can hear some sights and some sounds of some bugs and birds and things. Hopefully that was coming through. So let's go on to the next one. Wild creatures I ran across in the park. You can see that he's got a full black back. What I always heard, you know, that meant hard long winter, so we're in Texas, we'll see. But he is solid black from front to back, so we'll check him out. Just wanted to show you some wildlife in the park. Right, and then here you can see there's a little talking about the Texas Army, and the troops passed through Washington in the winter of 35-36 to join the Texas Army at Gonzales, Goliad, and San Antonio. While the convention met, some troops were camping just outside of town. And to the right there is a picture of a Texian volunteer dressed all snazzily. Let's get a close-up of our volunteer there. You can see that dressed pretty snazzy for the time, I'm sure. Okay, here's the trail going on down there. If you can see all the way down to the fence just here to the right. Go around the curve and then straight a little bit in that big wide spot. This is where the ferry boats used to come to. And of course bring people and supplies and mail, everything else. So obviously from there up to the town was a very, very short distance, so you could get there easily. And so again, this used to be the travel method of getting here, and you'll see that in just a minute. Here's a sign it's telling us about Robinson's Ferry on the Brazos that you can see that had active business by 1830, as well as ferry operation. Robinson also offered lodging and board for travelers and their horses. His tavern and a large corral stood in this area. So then you can see over there to the right, there's a little notice in the paper of 1830 about how it was safe to be here and all that good stuff. And you had good entertainment. So you can see we're getting information. Okay, we're down by the river, and here we go, talking about trade and travel. As you can see, crossing the Brazos River below its confluence with the Navasota gave travelers the advantage of fording one river rather than two on the well-traveled La Bahia Road. This was a natural spot for a ferry. So you can see up there it shows Washington, there's Robinson's Ferry, there's Fanthorpe on up to the north, Montgomery Settlement to the east, Crump's Ferry down south, and there's San Felipe de Austin, and Montezuma to the left of it. So now here's a sign beside the other one we just read about river boating. The river became Washington's lifeline during the 40s and 50s. That's the 1800s. The town was head of navigation on the Brazos. Riverboats brought goods from Galveston, New Orleans, and New York and took cotton to market. So you can see there that by the 1860s, railroads took over, and well, that was pretty much killing the riverboats. And this sign is telling us that Texans used various types of ferries during the 19th century. Robinson's operation probably took advantage of the river's current to take the flatboat from one side of the river to the other. So pretty easy again to get across and to get in and out. Nice and simple. Okay, and this final sign says runaway scrape. Texans fled Santa Anna's armies in fear during the March of 1836. Their panicked retreat, called the runaway scrape, was slowed at crossings on rivers like the Brazos. Delegates and townspeople also quickly abandoned Washington after the convention. Santa Anna's troops passed to the south, however, and did not come into the deserted town. And then you can see the picture there. It says waiting to cross. Anxious settlers often wanted more than a day to cross, or waited more than a day to cross the Brazos at Washington. So, wow, that's kind of crazy. Now let's take a look at the river and see what before us now is the Brazos River that you can see down there. More to the right than the left, but it is flowing down through. I'm going to lighten this up just so you can see. There's a river down there. Take some of that back away now. And then over here you can see these trees, and then to the right just more water and a lot of brush down there. So that's the Brazos. Fairly wide, actually. If I had to guess at this wide point, I'd say it's probably 50 foot across there. And in this section right in front of that tree, I don't know, I guess I'd guess that one is probably maybe 40 feet across. But you see on that sign, people had to wait for up to a day to get across this thing when they thought Santa Anna was coming through here. So not too much of a river, but took a while. One last thing for the movie. This is the first sign you run across. Birthplace of Texas. Washington was a raw new town when delegates from all over Texas crowded in for the March 1836 convention. Santa Anna's army had moved into San Antonio de Bejar, and the Alamo was under siege. War was at hand, and the delegates had to act. Now, if you look at that picture, you will see that on the left is our building. You can see a cabin over to the right, and another cabin on down. You can see where the road came up and met up there. Little cabins on up there. So that's kind of what she looked like back then.